So hello everyone and welcome. My name is Lara Waldman. I am the Abundance Activator, helping you to manifest more money into your life and business in alignment with your soul's purpose. And I have the great pleasure of introducing you today to Tash Mitch. She is the Chakra Alchemist. She's the queen of the chakras. She's a life coach, a business coach, an author, an all-round goddess. It's my great pleasure to welcome you here today, Tash.
Oh, it's such a pleasure to be here with your wonderful self. I absolutely have so much admiration for your work and so much admiration for the message that you're bringing forward in terms of abundance and in terms of wealth. So, yeah, it's a pleasure to be here with you.
Oh, it's so much fun.
Yay.
So you really help people to connect to their intuition, to their inner wisdom, their divinity, through the vehicle of the chakras.
Yes.
I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit about that, about what you do with the chakras or how you work with the chakras.
Well, it's interesting because I work very much with the yin and yang energy. And when I say that, I mean the yin energy is that kind of feminine energy, but it's also the energy that supports us. It's the energy that informs us of what we need. It's the energy that nurtures us and nourishes us. And that's the energy that really comes up from the earth. So it comes up from the bottom of the feet to the top. And it comes through all of the chakras. I work with the 7 chakras. There are others, but for simplicity, I keep it to the 7. And then the yang energy is the energy that comes from the crown to the earth. And it's that energy that expands everything. It's the energy that allows us to gain clarity, to gain a greater wisdom, to really access the voice of our higher self, our soul. So that comes down through the crown and it touches on all of the chakras as it goes down towards the earth. And then basically these two energies are dancing and mingling within us. And so for me, it's bringing people's attention to that, but also bringing people's attention to what it means on every level, when these energies touch us on every level, what it means. So to a large extent, the work that I do is about allowing people to tap into what it feels like to be aligned, to tap into what their resonance is, to tap into what their inner voice sounds like, and to tap into what their intuitive senses are telling them. And for me, the vehicle of the intuition is such a powerful vehicle that we have as human beings, and sometimes gets kind of like underlaid with everything else. So like, you know, when we're in this 3D world, we get so distracted with other things. But sometimes to just get quiet and to tap into our intuitive voice is really important. So this is really what I bring people's attention to with the vehicle of the chakras.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's great. And I know we've been talking a bit about how the chakras are related or connected to abundance and also specifically financial abundance. So we're going to spend a little bit of time focusing on that as well for you all today. So if someone is new to chakras, I'm just wondering if it'd be worth spending a few moments just to explain a little bit about the chakras and what they are and maybe going through the different chakras for people. What feels right for you?
An introduction to the chakras, which is ultimately an introduction to our energy system, you know? So if we take it from the base, so the base chakra has 2 levels. The base chakra has the first level, which is at the bottom of the feet, and that connects us to the earth. And it connects us to the earth's the resonance of the earth. And when we actually really connect into the earth on a conscious level, the earth can be really informing because there's that sense of security, there's that sense of being held, there's that sense of kind of like a nurturing kind of wisdom that comes from the earth. But the actual chakra itself, the energy center, is at the perineum, so it's that area between the genitals and the anus. It's kind of like that area there. That basically is where the first chakra resides. And with the first chakra, it takes into account our bodies, our physicality. It takes into account our community, the way we actually connect on a tribal basis in our neighborhood, for example, or on a community level. It takes into account our ability to nourish ourselves, to nurture ourselves. So that's basically the first chakra. The second chakra is just below the navel. That's the sacral chakra. And this one is our emotional center, our feeling center. It's also the center of our sexuality and our sensuality. It's the center where we actually interrelate and connect with other people and connect with ourselves to a large degree. And for me, it's kind of like that. It's a chakra of co-creation. You know, how do we playfully co-create in the world is very much from the sacral. The solar plexus chakra is what I would call, and this is just above the navel, is what I call the queen chakra or the king chakra. It's kind of like that sense when you sit in your empowerment and you know who you are, and you're really coming to the world from that place of presence and magnetism. You're really tapping into the solar plexus chakra. And whenever we say I am, and the thing that follows the I am, and we say it from a place of like such divinity, like basically it's definitive, this is who we are, we're really tapping into that solar plexus chakra, because it's kind of like that chakra of strength of knowing who we are. And that could be positive or negative. Do you know what I mean? I could say I'm beautiful, or I could say I'm ugly. But either way, the energy that gets tapped is in the solar plexus. The heart chakra, which is a beautiful heart chakra, is a chakra of giving and receiving. And it always asks the question, how do we give from a place of abundance, which is where you come in a lot of the times. How do we give from a place of feeling like, you know, there's more coming, so we can actually give freely, we can let the heart flow outwards. But also, how do we receive? How do we receive from a level of appreciation, from graciousness, from thankfulness? So this is really where the heart sits in. And the heart is a gateway to the three lower chakras and the 3 upper chakras. So when the heart says yes to anything, energy instantly flows. And when it says no, it just puts a cap. So it's kind of like, as much as the head might get involved with something, the heart is really what allows energy to flow. The next chakra is the throat chakra, and it's the chakra of our expression. So the chakra that allows us to voice our truth, to voice who we are, to voice how we feel, but also to express ourselves into the world with animation, basically comes from the throat chakra. The third eye chakra is between the eyebrows, and it's our chakra of intuition, our chakra of connecting to visioning, connecting to the subtle realms, connecting to energy, and really feeling into things past what people say, past what people do, past outward expression, what's really going on there. That very much taps into the third eye. And then finally, we have the crown chakra, which actually taps us into our divinity. It taps us into our higher self, into the voice of our soul, which is basically the voice that's been with us from the start of time. So there's such wisdom that comes from the crown chakra through. So that's just basically an introduction to the 7 chakras.
That's awesome. Thank you. And I really felt as you were describing them, I was really feeling myself tapping into my chakras, and some stuff was moving just through that little conversation there. That's beautiful. And you have such a gift of really guiding people into their chakras, into their body, and you did that for me, and it was such a powerful experience. We had a one-to-one session together. It was amazing. And it goes so much deeper. So that's a beautiful intro, but Tash takes you so much deeper through the journey of the chakras. So I would love to know, because from my experience working with heart-centered beings, people who are here to make a difference on this planet, what I experience is a lot of these beings are very open in the higher chakras. They're quite connected, and they've probably done a lot of work already on their heart and being very generous and caring. What I've noticed is there's often a shutdown around the sacral and the base chakras in relation to allowing more abundance into their life, specifically when we start looking at money. And I'm wondering if we could talk about that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, basically, that's an area that, personally speaking, to be completely honest with you, I've had to work with, because I was really versed with working from the heart upwards. And a lot of what's been taught to us, a lot of, the spiritual teachings sort of always tell us to look upwards when we're looking at our spirituality. But the element that's really come in for me, especially with working in the chakras, is basically as above, so below. And what we need to gain a balance is to be able to look both upwards, look at the divinity from that sense of spaciousness, that sense of clarity, but also to bring that same level of attention downwards and really tap into the magnetism of the earth, tap into our own presence, tap into exactly what you're talking about, which is physical abundance. And that takes a reversal. It takes a reversal that actually gives the same level of respect that we would look up into our spirituality, giving that same level of respect of looking down into the earth. And looking down into the earth from a place of actually allowing the earth to inform us, allowing the earth to tell us what we need, what would nourish us, what would nurture us. And that's not something that we do a lot. We tend to kind of bombard the earth with our own needs, I need this, I need that, I need this. But ultimately, sometimes if we just get quiet and just allow the earth to inform, we realize that actually what we need is available to us. We just needed that kind of level of stillness to tap into where to find it in our path, where to find it in our resonance,
Wow, that's so beautiful. And you really introduced that concept to me more powerfully, which is this idea that the earth can help with our manifestations.
Yes.
That there's a co-creation not only with source,
yes,
not only the universe and yourself, but also the earth. And I've been really diving deep into that since our conversation. And oh my gosh, I feel she just wants to gift to us. She just wants to support us and help us to have an amazing experience in our bodies on the planet. That's what I've been getting from her anyway.
And it makes such sense if you really kind of think about that concept, especially the way that you've said it. It makes such sense because we're spiritual beings, yes. And we've been around since the beginning of time. That's a belief that it feels good in my bones, that I know that for sure. But on the earthly plane, in a human sort of 3D form, the earth has been here for billions of years. The earth has got information that we don't actually have from a spiritual point of view if we're looking upwards. And so it just makes sense. Tell me. What do I need to know? Tell me. And we don't necessarily do this, We don't necessarily just get quiet and allow the earth to give and receive, from that heart center, to receive from the earth, And like you say, the earth is so generous. I mean, when you think of people planting little tiny seeds and massive trees, and we have nothing to do with that, there's no thought process on our part with that. The earth has got the wisdom, the earth has got that sense of presence and magnetism to allow these things to happen. So it just makes sense to let the earth feed us in that way.
I love it. When you say she's been here for billions of years, I think how arrogant are we sometimes, right? Even with our big egos, like, we're going to conquer this planet. It's so funny. Humans are so funny. Oh my goodness me. So that's amazing. And for me, that really feels like this divine mother love, this real support, that we're really supported and we're held, and remembering to really drop into that and open to receive that. And I think for me, I've had lots of challenges to work through, but one has been about feeling safe in my body, which I feel is quite base chakra, and feeling like I wasn't even here. Like I wasn't even in my body. I have all these scars all over my forehead to prove it. I used to just crash into things and so ungrounded. And there's a thing about feeling like it's okay to fully be here, to fully show up, to fully share who I am in the world. And this is what I also see for so many heart-centered beings. We're so sensitive that it can be quite intense to fully be embodied. And to me, that's connected to anything that you want to manifest. If we're not really here, would you say that it's quite hard to fully manifest what you want?
Oh God, for sure. I mean, basically, that sort of as above, so below is such a potent. I mean, there's so many layers of that phrase, as above, so below, because like, if we're reaching upwards and we're reaching up to the infinity of what we are as a spiritual being, ultimately, if we're not grounding ourselves with the same level of attention, literally, we actually give the attention to the ether. And we always then have to snap back to like, all the things that are going wrong because we're not giving our attention to the earth element. And to put this in really practical terms, if we spend every day, for example, meditating and spend no time at all paying our mortgage or rental bills, or even thinking about how we would go about to do that, like literally, we will have our attention snap back to that. We'll have our attention snap back to, hang on a second, base chakra issue here. You need to take care of the physicality of who you are. And so there is that element of balance, the same amount of attention that we use to actually reach up and to really get a grasp of the infinity of who we are. It's the same level of attention we use to reach downwards, to actually gain that magnetism, that presence. What are we presenting right now? Where are we right now? You know, that kind of element. And what do we want from the physical elements of our lives? You know, it's kind of like, what do we want to manifest? What do we want to leave as a legacy? What do we want, you know, to actually gift to the earth, but gift to the world? You know, what do we really want from that level? So that is it, basically. It's those two elements. And one can't really exist without the other, you know? They work in harmony. This is why I was saying to you previously, it's about these energies dancing within us. Yeah. It's so true. It's kind of like that element of the spirituality and that wide, infinite energy coming from the crown downwards. It's dancing with that element of that finite, you know, that kind of 3D, that kind of like, right, how are we going to bring this infinity to form? That element coming up. And it's the dance between these two, basically.
Beautiful. Yeah, and I feel like that was me. I was all up, and I wasn't really fully here. You as well? I think a lot of light leaders or light workers have this as a challenge. And I think because my point of view anyways, is that we've got this vision of what's possible for this planet. And then we see all the crap that's going on this planet. And there's been I think a pattern to reject it. So for me, it was like, well, money creates greed, and money creates poor behavior, and money creates hurting each other and hurting the planet. So I just turned my back to it and rejected it. Well, money's not the answer. And I think that's what a lot of heart-centered people have done, is reject the things that don't work. And I'm getting this information about integrating into this physical dimension and then creating a new reality from within it. That's the information that's been coming to me. What do you think about that?
Well, one of the things is interesting that you're saying, because exactly the same experience that you've had. I've been not so much from a rejection point of view in terms of like the earth, but more from an attention point of view. Like my attention at one point was really focused from heart upwards, really focused on, it's kind of like if someone said spirituality, I would immediately look upwards, because that's, you know, that. And for me now, it's kind of like a reversal of that, you know, and a reversal in a way that I can actually really reach down into the earth on that level. But I don't think there's any coincidence that we've done that, because I think and for me, my life is always about acceptance and then looking at the rhythm of what's being created. And the rhythm of what's being created is a real sound knowledge of the spiritual element. You know, I can honestly say that tapping into my spirituality feels like such second nature to me, as I know it does to you, you know, and really getting that resonance and that sense of our spirituality from that upward triangle point of view. It sits so perfectly within us. We know it, you know, and there's more to learn, there's more to expand, but there's a knowing. And I feel like basically that knowing, getting that knowing in place was really important, so we can bring that same level of knowing to the bottom triangle. And this is exactly what you're doing, is bringing in this new paradigm of how do we bring this knowing to the abundance, to the manifestation, to, you know, bringing finite into action. Do you know what I mean? You know, kind of like making things that we can feel and touch and experience, that kind of thing. But you're doing it from that level of spirituality that is so beautifully sound, you know? And it had to happen that way, it feels like.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. Absolutely. Yeah. And I guess I see this going on for a lot of people who've done a lot of the work, done the yoga and the meditation and the retreats and the crying and the releasing. And for a lot of people who've done a lot of inner work. And now I feel like this is the next piece for a lot of these heart-centered light leaders, that we include the physical more, give our attention to it. And for me, like when on my journey of doing this, it's been a lot about this self-worth piece. And when I always carried a lot of stuff in my sacral chakra. Like I had candida and thrush from the age of 8, and it's always been a problem area for me. And as I've been exploring all of this abundance and all the stuff we're talking about, really getting present here, it was like I had rejected a part of myself. The part of, you know, my power, my sexuality, that thinking it was bad or dirty. And there's a lot of stuff around sex and money being dirty, isn't there? And being evil and bad. And that somehow when we tap into that energy, that there's something wrong about it. And that, you know, for me, it's been the power of the divine feminine as well, that how that's been suppressed. There's so much in there. And so for me, it's been a big journey about self-love and self-acceptance and welcoming all parts. And this is what I'm now so passionate about doing for other people, that we welcome in the shadow parts. We welcome in the parts you might have judged to be bad or wrong or ugly. The part of you that might be actually really powerful. And that might be scary. And that's been a big part of my journey personally, and also what I'm quite passionate about helping light workers with as well, is really, really diving into those shadow parts, really landing in and taking a good look at what's really going on, who we truly are.
Absolutely. And to be honest, I think one of the beautiful things of the work that you do and the work that I do, and like you're saying, a lot of heart-centered people are doing, is a journey that happens from the inside out. So like literally it's us peeling ourselves back to really kind of look in and find source in the midst of what actually is the untruths, is what we then bring to the world, you know. And we're bringing that sense of the understanding of the process of healing to the world, because we're doing it ourselves. So it's not like a conceptual kind of thing that we read in a book. It's a literal kind of like peeling the layers off, you know, and having the compassion and empathy to go back to the same layer over and over again and peel another layer off. I mean, that was one of the things that I had to really come to terms with, especially with the sacral chakra, but with all the chakras, to be fair, is how infinite we are. So we say we're infinite, right? But then how infinite our layers can sometimes be. Do you know what I mean? And how much patience and compassion and love that we have to have for ourselves to go back to the same thing yet again. It's like, I thought I heard this the last time. What's this about?
you again.
Just showing up like this again, you know?
And that's so refreshing, I think, to hear that, you know, for both of us, it's a journey, isn't it? Of constantly looking in and healing and shifting and loving and accepting these parts. It's not that you arrive at perfection someday and you've I don't know, maybe enlightenment exists, but that you get to this place that you're suddenly enlightened and perfect. And, you know, my experience is it's not like that. We're constantly evolving and growing and exploring and knowing ourselves on a deeper and deeper level, which is so beautiful. And so it's also reassuring to know, you can relax. You don't have to get it right, you know.
Yes.
There is no getting it right.
There is no getting it right. I mean, basically, infinity would suggest that if we're in a body, we're going to have a boundary. Ultimately, if we're infinite and we're not in a body, we're not here. We're somewhere else, right? So the fact that we're in a human form and we've actually signed up to be in this human form, certainly in this time and space right now, there is going to be a level of boundary, and we're always going to be that level of expanding that boundary. Yes. And the boundary, the expansion is infinite, because we are infinite in spiritual form, right? So like literally we're continuously meeting ourselves and meeting the part of ourselves that creates a start. And for me, the spiritual journey is all about expansion. So when we meet that, it's like, okay, so this is another level to expand outwards. Yes. And that normally is a layer that gets peeled off.
Yes. where you're kind of getting in your way or holding yourself back.
Exactly.
And that's what's so, challenging, but so exciting. And it's like hard and it's so rewarding all at once, isn't it?
Yes.
When you finally move through, you're like, I can breathe. Hallelujah.
Yeah.
Oh, amazing. I mean, we could talk forever about this because this is obviously a super deep subject and there's so much to it. But
it's an infinite subject, Lara.
Yeah, it's an infinite subject. But I know that you've got something really special coming up. I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit about the course that you're running on chakras. So can you tell us a little bit about that if people want to find out more about how to work with you?
Yeah, so basically I'm running this course. This is going to be the third cycle of this course, and it's Crown Chakra Expansion. And there's other courses that are going to be coming up in the pipeline. But this particular course is about bringing the divine from the crown down to the earth and really tapping on each of the levels to do that. So the course is a 7-week course, and each of the days for the 7 weeks, we actually hone in on one particular chakra. So every week we focus on a chakra, and every day we focus on an aspect of that chakra. So there's elements where we set an intention, there's elements where we release disempowering beliefs, where we open ourselves to empowering downloads, where we do a mantra, where we get a sacred message. So basically, we actually then get to really get to the layers of ourselves through these chakras. And the first 2 cycles, it's a global community that goes through these cycles. So there's people from all over the world. And the first 2 cycles were just amazingly beautiful for people in terms of what they were reporting back, just sitting with themselves for 10 minutes a day, either in the morning or in the evening. And so this third cycle is again just basically going through that and inviting more people into it. So in order to get to that particular course, the website details is www.soulfulchakra.com.
Great. And we'll put a link to that below this video that people can go and find out more and sign up. And is there a start date, or is it a rolling program?
It's going to be a rolling program, but in order to do it with the community, I'm going to be doing it twice a year. So the 4th of July, we're going to be going through a cycle as a global community. And then afterwards, people have the opportunity to go through it as a self-study thing as well. There's a group on Facebook that supports all of this as well. So whether you're going through it with the community or going through it on a self-study basis, there's always ways of interacting with other people through what you're going through as well. So,
lovely. Sounds beautiful. So go check that out if you'd like to find out more about the Chakra Alchemist and how she can support you. It's been a great pleasure to have you with us, Tash. Thank you so much for sharing your beauty and your wisdom. You've got such a lovely grounding energy about you. I always feel much more grounded in myself when I talk to you. So thank you. And so much love to you.
Lara, I can't say enough about the work that you're doing. I absolutely adore you. I adore the work that you're bringing forward, and the fact that it's such a new paradigm in the sense that you're bringing money in a way that actually sits so beautifully with our spirituality, and really allowing heart-centered businesses to hone in, and heart-centered people to hone in on what that really means for them. So much love and so much, just kind of like heart for you.
Oh, thank you, love, and you too. Lots of love, and we'll speak to you very soon.
Bye.